Being a man in my mid-20s, I've experienced my fair share of thrilling and nerve-wracking moments, but nothing could have prepared me for this unforgettable experience with my ex-girlfriend, Bailey. We found ourselves lost in the heart of a desolate farmland, surrounded by towering cornfields and foreboding tractors all around us. We had decided to embark on a spontaneous road trip, craving an escape from the monotony of city life. We were not used to these surroundings, although we really wanted an adventure that would invigorate our spirits and create lasting memories. Our journey took us deep into Iowa, in the country, where the roads twisted and turned like a riddle waiting to be solved. The setting sun cast long shadows across the vast farmland, adding an air of mystery to the surroundings. We marveled at the sprawling fields of golden corn, their rustling leaves whispering secrets carried by the wind. As twilight settled, an unsettling feeling washed over me. The roads were growing more narrow. The signs of civilization became scarce. Suddenly, and without warning, our GPS failed us, leaving us at the mercy of an unforgiving maze of dirt roads. Doubt crept into my mind, but I reassured Bailey that we would find our way back to civilization before nightfall. But as darkness started to blanket the land, the foreboding clouds announced an impending storm. You see, we were driving a convertible that did not have a top. It was broken, and I had taken it off last summer and left it in my garage. Thunder rumbled ominously in the distance, and lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the vast expanse of cornfields. Raindrops began to patter against the windshield, and we could feel the icy cold drops landing upon our heads, adding an element of urgency to our situation. In a very cruel twist of fate, my car's engine suddenly sputtered and died in the middle of nowhere. I looked at Bailey with an absolutely dumbfounded expression. How was this happening to us right now? Panic surged through me, although I desperately tried to keep my cool. I attempted to restart the engine, but to no avail. I tried again and again, but nothing happened. I'm not a big car guy, and I don't know the first thing about mechanics under the hood, but I popped the hood anyway, to at least give it my best shot. After looking around at the engine and all of this stuff that looked like Greek to me, the rain started to pick up. I got back in the car and grabbed my coat from the back seat. I flung it over Bailey and tried to cover her as best I could. We were stranded in the heart of nowhere, with no shelter from the encroaching storm, except the coat that I now wished that I was wearing. As the rain intensified, we started to get drenched. We had to make a fast decision. We had to seek refuge somewhere from the downpour. Our eyes fell upon an abandoned barn nearby, a beacon of hope amidst the desolation of this land. We got out of the car and dashed towards it, our soaked clothes clinging to our bodies. The creaking doors of this old barn protested as I forced them open, revealing a very gloomy interior. The air smelled of dust and decay. Something had definitely died inside or nearby, and it was recent. Even still, it provided some respite from the relentless rain outside. Hand in hand, we cautiously stepped further inside, our eyes adjusting to the dim light filtering through the cracks in the walls. This barn was a symphony of eerie sounds, whispers carried by the wind, the scurrying of unseen creatures, and the occasional creak of old wood. We huddled together, seeking warmth in the musty embrace of this mysterious barn. Bailey's presence provided me much comfort. I hoped that I provided her comfort as well. I'm sure I did. Her steady breathing was a reassuring reminder that I was not alone in this situation. From outside, the silence was broken by the sound of approaching footsteps. Slow, deliberate. My heart skipped a beat as I strained to discern the source of this disturbing intrusion. I motioned for Bailey to stay quiet as I pressed myself against the barn's worn-out walls, trying to catch a glimpse of our uninvited visitors. Or maybe we were the ones who were uninvited. Soon, these people came into view, their faces partially obscured by worn-out hats and the darkness of the night. They moved with an eerie synchrony, their intentions unknown, but undeniably not good. They looked as if they were trying to be quiet. The realization that we might be in a very bad situation sent shivers up my arm, across my neck and down my spine. I tightened my grip on Bailey's hand, silently urging her to remain calm. We could not afford to give in to fear right now. For all I knew, survival depended on our wits and resilience. I whispered words of encouragement, assuring her that we would find a way to escape this nightmarish predicament. We huddled in the corner of the barn, behind a very rusted and old piece of equipment. As we observed the people enter the barn from our hiding spot, it became crystal clear that they were in fact searching for someone, or us. Their methodical movements hinted at a dark purpose, filling me with a sense of impending doom. I tried to steady my breathing, but it was near impossible at this point. I was scared, and it was difficult for me to not show it to my girlfriend. We had unwittingly stumbled into a secret of some kind. I could feel it, and now we were prey. Fear and determination intertwined within me as I weighed our options. With no means of transportation and no clear path to safety, this barn was our last line of defense, this dark hiding spot in the corner. Our adversaries circled the area, periodically scanning the surroundings as they closed in on us, on our dark hiding spot. Their eyes gleamed with a mix of anticipation and malice, like predators closing in. The sound of their whispered conversations were absolutely barbaric. To me, they sounded inbred. The language they were speaking must have been English, but it was broken. It's hard to explain. Their words stuck together. I silently prayed for a stroke of luck in this moment. Eventually, they wandered back outside, and I took the biggest sigh of relief of my life. Somehow they had not found us. Bailey looked at me with uncertainty and asked me very quietly, "What should we do now?" I told her let's stay put, as I was unsure if the people outside were standing there, waiting for us to step out, or if they had really gone. We sat, for a couple hours it must have been, which I know it sounds cliché, but it did seem like an eternity. We knew we couldn't stay forever. We had to get up and leave at some point. We stayed a lot longer than I thought we did, because I started to see sunlight outside. The rain had ceased. Dawn was approaching, casting a faint light on the landscape outside. We made a very daring decision. It was time to leave. Bailey and I synchronized our movements, our hearts pounding in unison. We waited for a moment before stepping outside, but when we did, we saw that there was nobody around. Our footsteps were light and careful, our senses heightened as we silently made our way towards freedom. The freedom of the sunlight, the freedom of our broken-down car. As we stepped inside the car, Eureka! I had signal. I was able to call my brother, who knew a lot more about cars than I did. After waiting for a few hours, my brother finally showed up. He was able to fix my car, and we were on our way again. Although this experience definitely ruined our road trip. We decided it was best to just go home and never attempt something like this again. Telling this story now, I still cannot believe this happened. But it did. What those people were looking for is beyond me, and what they would have done to us if they had found us, I really don't even want to think about it. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Maybe I've listened to far too many scary stories in my life. Maybe those people would have found us. Maybe they would have let us use a phone, or invited us into the safety of their homes with some warm food and blankets. Or maybe I wouldn't be telling this story right now if they had found us. It's something I'll never know, and I'm okay with that. All right, listen up, folks, because I have a blood-curdling tale for you. Picture this. I was a kid, 12 years old, visiting my Uncle Calvin's farm one summer. And let me tell you, his farm was massive, with fields of towering corn that seemed to stretch on forever. Little did I know that a harmless adventure through those fields would plunge me into a nightmare that you cannot even imagine. One scorching afternoon, I was exploring the edge of the cornfield and stumbled upon a path that inexplicably led me into this situation. It beckoned me. I had to follow this path to see what was at the end of it. But as I did, I realized I became lost. The rustling leaves and the earthy scent surrounded me as I ventured further and further, driven by the knowledge that I was now lost, but also by curiosity and an itch for adventure. But as I ventured deeper into the rows of corn, a haunting silence descended, broken only by the occasional caw of a distant crow. The sun's warm rays dimmed, casting an eerie gloom over the landscape. The cornfield became a labyrinth of towering green stalks that seemed to whisper secrets in the wind. A cold breeze brushed against my neck. Fueled by a mix of excitement and trepidation, I pressed on, determined to uncover what lay ahead. The further I went, the more the cornfield seemed to engulf me. The more lost I became. Panic began to grow inside. I realized I had lost all sense of direction. I turned this way and that way, trying desperately now to just find my way back and get out of here. The excitement was gone. The sense of adventure was gone. But the relentless rows of corn all looked the same. A knot tightened in my stomach. Cold sweat dripped down my forehead. That's when I stumbled upon something that froze me in my tracks. A scarecrow. But this was not your ordinary scarecrow. No, sir. This was a nightmare brought to life. The tattered clothes hung limply, and the straw-filled body seemed to mock my presence somehow. Yet, it wasn't just their eerie appearance that sent a chill down my spine. It was the feeling that somehow it was watching me. I tried to shake off the unease, to tell myself that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But something felt off, as if this figure had a life of his own. With trembling hands, I decided to pluck a string from my torn overalls and tie it to this scarecrow, so that it would serve as a marker, so that if I found it again, I would know that I was going in a circle. I continued to navigate the twisting paths, my heart absolutely pounding in my chest. But as I retraced my steps and stumbled upon the scarecrow that I had marked, the realization hit me. The fear. I had been running in a circle somehow. But this is what sent shivers down my spine. The scarecrow was not in the same position that it was earlier. I was sure of it. Its arms were raised in a different pose, and its burlap face seemed to taunt me with an unsettling grin that I am not sure it had before. Fear gripped me like a vice as I frantically ran away. I could not fathom how or why, but it definitely seemed like something supernatural was at play in this cornfield. I quickened my pace. It seemed to conspire against me, shifting its paths, leading me in circles. I eventually came upon another scarecrow. This one did not have the string attached, so I pulled another string off my overalls and tied it around its wrist. I began wandering through the field again. My lungs burned at this point. My legs were aching. How long had I been out here? I looked up into the sky, and I could tell I didn't have much daylight left. The terror suddenly hit me. What if I had to do this in the dark? Despair threatened to completely engulf me in that moment. As I made my way through the rows, in the midst of my desperate struggle, I stumbled upon a sight that still haunts my nightmares. In a clearing between the rows of corn, a pool of dark crimson stained the earth. Somehow, a giant puddle of blood. Its presence sent a wave of terror crashing over me. I had to get out of here. Now. Dread washed over me like an icy wave. With every fiber in my being screaming to run as fast as I can, I mustered the last reserves of courage that I had, and I decided to follow the trail of blood. The cornfield whispered its secrets, but it wasn't just the wind rustling through the leaves anymore. As I caught my breath, I began to hear faint whispers emanating from within the corn stalks. Whispers that turned my blood to ice. At first, they were barely audible, like a distant echo, maybe from somebody far away. But as I stopped and strained to listen, they grew louder, clearer. I started to hear clear threats of death, and then unsettling laughter. They were echoing through the rows of corn. They seemed to mock my escape, taunting me with their sinister promises to leave me here, in my own puddle. My heart raced. A cold sweat coated my trembling body. I glanced all around me, in search of somebody, whoever was whispering. But I saw nothing but the endless expanse of corn. The voices seemed to come from all directions, swirling all around me. I couldn't escape it. No matter how hard I tried, I started to run in a random direction. The voices somehow grew louder as I did, more distinct. I strained to make sense of the words again, my pulse pounding in my ears. And then, amidst the sinister whispers, I heard something that sent a bolt of terror through my veins. It was definitely the voice of my Uncle Calvin. I swear, without a shred of doubt, it was his voice, twisted and distorted, whispering threats of death directly into my ears. Fear seized me completely, my mind racing to comprehend this. How? How could my uncle be out here doing this to me? My uncle, the man who had welcomed me with open arms. He was the most gentle, kind, and loving person you could imagine. Was it some cruel trick or a sinister presence masquerading as him? Driven now by a mixture of fear and desperation, I stumbled through the cornfield, the last of my energy, trying to escape the torment. The whispers followed me, pursuing me with their menace, promising me my demise in these fields. Finally, Exhausted and on the brink of madness, I burst through a row of corn and found myself back at the farmhouse. I gasped for breath, tears streaming down my face. I ran into the barn and pleaded with my Uncle Calvin to explain himself. Why? Why had he not helped me? But as he looked at me, a mixture of concern and confusion etched on his face. I saw no trace of the sinister voice, the sinister version of him that had haunted my every step in that cornfield. Uncle Calvin swore that he had been in the farmhouse the entire time, attending to his daily chores, completely oblivious to the horrors I had endured. His voice seemed genuine, filled with the warmth and love I had always known. I couldn't comprehend how his voice had been tainted by those whispers. Haunted by the nightmarish events, I searched for answers, digging deep into the dark history online of this farm. Local legends spoke of a malevolent presence that had plagued the land for generations, whispering dark secrets and driving those who dared enter the cornfield to the edge of insanity. In the end, I realized that the cornfield held secrets that were best left undisturbed. The voices, the scarecrows, the puddle of blood. They were all part of a twisted reality that defied logic and reason. As I grow older, I vow to never return to that place, to leave the haunting memories behind and embrace the light. But sometimes, on moonlit nights, I can still hear those whispers carried through the wind, through my bedroom window, a haunting reminder of the darkness that lurks outside. In the most unsuspecting corners of our world, I can't help but wonder if the voice of my dear Uncle Calvin was merely a puppet, manipulated by the malevolence that resided within the cornfield, or if there's nothing supernatural about this. Maybe my uncle was out there, playing a trick on me. Or maybe he's just not the man I have always known him to be. In the recesses of my tormented memories lies a story that still haunts the depths of my soul, a chilling descent into the heart of darkness, a time when innocence was shattered and the hidden horrors of our humble ranch emerged from the shadows. As a young country girl, life on the ranch was a tapestry of simplicity and joy. Wide open fields, rolling hills, and the comforting embrace of nature were our constant companions. But beneath the idyllic facade lay a secret that would unravel our tranquil lives. It began with the mysterious disappearance of my sister Desiree. The sun-soaked days turned into nights fraught with anguish and despair. The whispers of a grim fate traveled throughout our community. She had been kidnapped, and we feared the worst. The tight-knit community mourned her loss, resigned to the belief that she had been taken from us, a victim of unspeakable evil. But the true nightmare began on a moonlit night, when the air was thick with an otherworldly stillness. I, the surviving daughter of two, found myself ensnared in a sinister dance with the unknown. Whispers, soft as the rustling of leaves, reached my ears in the dead of night, carrying with them a haunting but familiar melody. Desiree's voice. As I lie in bed at night, it couldn't be. I was hearing things. Drifting through the fields like a wisp of smoke, the whispers continued, night after night. The first fateful night, I followed the whispers, tiptoeing through the hushed corridors of our ranch house, guided by the moon's silvery glow. The creaking floorboards beneath my bare feet seemed to whisper secrets of their own, as I approached Desiree's vacant and cold bedroom. A sliver of trepidation gripped my heart, but I had to know. Was she back, or was I just hearing things? In the stillness of the night, I pushed open her bedroom door, its hinges groaning in protest. The room, once filled with the warmth of my sister's presence, was now a dark, haunting echo of the past. Shadows played upon the walls, dancing in a macabre ballet, as if mocking the emptiness and the once innocence that resided within. But then, as my eyes adjusted to the dimness, I saw her sitting in the closet, a silhouette wrapped in darkness. A gasp escaped my lips, a mixture of hope and dread intertwining within me. How could this be? She returned? My heart raced with anticipation as I approached, but as I drew closer, my hopes were dashed. The figure in the closet was not my sister, but a large porcelain doll, its lifeless eyes peering into the abyss of my soul. A shiver crawled up my arms. The nights that followed were a tapestry of terror and despair, each one more nightmarish than the last. The whispers led me through the sprawling expanse of our ranch, a labyrinth of cornfields and forgotten trails. The moon watched from above, casting its pale light upon the eerie landscape, as I stumbled upon eerie scenes that defied logic and reason. On the second night, the whispers beckoned me into the heart of the ranch. The cornfields rustled with an unseen presence, hiding secrets within its labyrinth. I trudged through the maze, my heart pounding, as if synchronized with the ominous rhythm of the night. And then, the whispers led me nowhere, and I eventually found my way back to my bed. The following night led me deeper into a web of darkness, each step a nerve-wracking foray into the unknown. Shadows danced, taking on a life of their own, it seemed. But it was on the final night, when the moon was shining with an eerie intensity, as if to light my way to the truth. The whispers guided me to a secluded spot, far from prying eyes. A place where my father, the very man who had sworn to protect us, had hidden Desiree's desecrated remains. The sight that greeted me was a grotesque tapestry of horror. The earth, freshly disturbed, revealing the secret that had festered within our family. Desiree's body, mutilated, lay before me like a sacrificial offering to darkness, to evil. The anguish I felt, it threatened to consume my soul. As the realization crashed upon me, my father was responsible for this. And then, as if the twisted symphony of our lives had reached a crescendo, I turned to face my father, who was standing in the doorway. The truth spilled forth from his lips, his voice laced with madness and depravity. He was the one responsible, and he was proud of it. A wolf in sheep's clothing. A monster on the ranch. In that moment, a primal instinct took a hold of me, igniting a fire within me. With each heartbeat that I felt in my chest, I vowed to escape. The same would not happen to me. The chase ensued, my father's rage propelling him forward with relentless determination. I dodged and darted towards the door, through the barn and out, back into the ranch house. The endless expanse of the ranch I ran, my breath a ragged rhythm in the silence of the night. Fear mingled with my adrenaline, and I mustered every ounce of strength to outrun this monster, the embodiment of evil. His footsteps were thundering right behind me, closer with each passing moment, and every moment I could feel the cold grasp of his hand around the back of my neck. In a desperate bid for escape, I ran upstairs, kicked open Desiree's bedroom door, and flung myself through her window, shards of glass biting into my flesh like ravenous teeth. As I scrambled to my feet outside on the dirt, I glanced up at the window, catching a glimpse of my father's enraged visage, before pushing forward into the unknown. I saw it in the distance. My neighbor, Tom. The night air caressed my face as I raced towards his property. Panic fueled my movements. My survival was the only thing I could think about. Each breath came in gasps. My legs were burning with exhaustion. I had never exerted myself like this in my life, but the thought of succumbing to my father's wrath spurred me onward without hesitation. Tom's house appeared before me like a beacon of salvation, sanctuary, its warm glow promising safety in the midst of this evil. With trembling hands, I flung open his door without knocking and stumbled inside, shouting for help. Tom, a grizzled man with very kind old eyes, sensed the urgency right away in my voice. He led me out to the barn, where tools hung like silent sentinels. A pitchfork, rusted and weathered, caught my eye. If my father came through these doors, he would regret it. And sure enough, the doors swung open. My father slowly emerged from the darkness outside, his eyes filled with a mix of fury and desperation. My father slowly walked towards me. My neighbor, now out of sight, disappeared. I would be my father's next victim. His eyes pierced through me. I could tell this was it. But in a moment of raw bravery, Tom emerged from behind my father, driving a machete into his back. A gasp with blood spurted out of his lips. As the light faded from my father's gaze, I knew it was over. The ranch had become a graveyard of innocence and a testament to the resilience of my spirit. But the scars of that nightmare remain etched in my soul. I could never get over it. I miss my sister, and oddly enough, I miss the whispers, a haunting melody that serves as a warning to all, a reminder to cherish the light in your lives. In the midst of darkness, it might be all you have to survive.